Coming up on 5 Minute News. British Prime Minister resigns after just 45 days on the job. 5 US states will have slavery on the ballot next month. And wildfires choke US Northwest as smoke reaches cities. It's Friday, October 21. I'm Anthony Davis. British Prime Minister Liz Truss quit on Thursday after a tumultuous and historically brief term marred by economic policies that roiled financial markets and a rebellion in her political party that obliterated her authority. After just 45 days in office, Truss became the third Conservative Prime Minister to be toppled in as many years, and she will go down as the shortest-serving leader in British history. Her resignation extends the instability that has shaken Britain since it broke off from the European Union and leaves its leadership in limbo as the country faces a cost-of-living crisis and looming recession. Financial markets breathed a sigh of relief, but now a divided ruling party must quickly find a leader who can unify its warring factions. Truss said she will remain in office until a replacement is chosen, which the Conservative Party said it would do by the end of next week, an extremely fast timeline for choosing the next leader of one of the world's largest economies. Potential leaders include former Treasury Chief Rishi Sunak, who lost to Truss in the last leadership contest, House of Commons leader Penny Mordaunt, Defence Secretary Ben Wallace, and even Boris Johnson, the former Prime Minister ousted in July over a series of ethics scandals. The low-tax, low-regulation economic policies that got Truss elected by her party proved disastrous in the real world at a time of soaring inflation and weak growth. More than 150 years after slaves were freed in the US, voters in 5 states will soon decide whether to close loopholes that led to the proliferation of a different form of slavery, forced labor by people convicted of certain crimes. None of the proposals would force immediate changes inside the state's prisons, though they could lead to legal challenges related to how they use prison labor, a lasting imprint of slavery's legacy on the entire United States. The effort is part of a national push to amend the 13th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution that banned enslavement or involuntary servitude, except as a form of criminal punishment. That exception has long permitted the exploitation of labor by convicted felons. Nearly 20 states have constitutions that include language permitting slavery and involuntary servitude as criminal punishments. In 2018, Colorado was the first to remove the language from its founding frameworks by ballot measure, followed by Nebraska and Utah 2 years later. This November, versions of the question go before voters in Alabama, Louisiana, Oregon, Tennessee, and Vermont. Senator Ramesh Akbari, a Democrat from Memphis, was shocked when a fellow lawmaker told her about the slavery exception in the Tennessee Constitution and immediately began working to replace the language. Similar concerns over the financial impact of prison labor led California's Democratic-led legislature to reject an amendment eliminating indentured servitude as a possible punishment for crime after Governor Gavin Newsom's administration predicted it would require the state to pay billions of dollars at minimum wage to prison inmates. Scrutiny over prison labor has existed for decades, but the 13th Amendment's loophole in particular encouraged former Confederate states after the Civil War to devise new ways to maintain the dynamics of slavery. Wildfires in Oregon and Washington are blanketing much of America's Pacific Northwest with smoke, choking residents in Seattle, Portland, and other parts of the 2 states with the worst air in the United States, according to government data. In the Seattle area, home to some 4 million people, the sky was brown and the air was difficult to breathe on Thursday. When the sun did peek through, it was orange. The 10 US locations with the worst air quality on Thursday were all in Washington or Oregon, led by Oak Ridge, Oregon, 150 miles southeast of Portland. Oak Ridge's air quality index was 487 in the hazardous category, according to the federalairnow.gov website. Seattle, with an air quality index of 207, and Portland, with 204, led large cities on the list, with air considered to be very unhealthy. To have poor air quality from wildfire smoke as late in the year as October is unprecedented in Washington, said Susan Woodward, spokesperson for the Washington State Department of Ecology. The Air Quality Index measures a combination of ozone and particulate pollution in the air. On Thursday, Oregon expanded an air quality advisory to cover much of the state, including the Portland metro area, urging people to stay indoors if possible and use filtered ventilation systems or air purifiers. Rain, expected today throughout the region, was expected to aid firefighting efforts and improve air quality. You can subscribe to 5-Minute News on YouTube with your preferred podcast app. Ask your smart speaker or enable 5-Minute News as your Amazon Alexa flash briefing skill. Subscribe, rate, and review online at 5minute.news. 5-Minute News is an Evergreen podcast covering politics, inequality, health, and climate, delivering independent, unbiased, and essential world news daily.